Key links for Odysee and BitChute. The People versus Jon Del Arroz, JDA, fighting back against discrimination by the vile cultural Marxists. JDA is a Spanish Catholic writer of science fiction, fantasy, graphic novels, and some steampunk. Defamation is a defamatory statement of fact. It also has issues with how public of a public figure you are, if you are at all, and per se a defamation at common law. But the thing we're going to focus in is the statement of fact, which is an interesting issue because it deals with the schism between reality and witchcraft, logic, reason, scientific method versus feelings. Like, do you want mud huts forever, or do you want to ascend to the stars and maybe one day live on other planets, the moons of Jupiter, which isn't hyperbole, because we're not, we're in this position, this weird social position where we're sort of going to head back into barbarianism and savagery, because the truth is not politically correct. We're in a spot where facts appear to be getting very slippery, and they're actually not. If a man may be a woman, then the rules are off the table. The adults have left the building. Anything is possible. We don't even live in a causal universe of cause and effect. I identify as an engineer, but I can't build a doghouse. Now let me go build a bridge. And notice I said scientific method, not science. The scientific method is a process, a flow chart to reaching truth, not a politically approved, industry-funded, politically correct consensus. You can trust the scientific method to get you closer to a solution. It might not be politically correct. In fact, when liberal universities fund studies that aren't PC, they bury them or they pull them, because they might hurt someone's feelings. What that does is allow the globalists to slither in and push a narrative. All kids are trans kids, and they must cut off their organs. If you complain, then you're a istophobe, wrong thinker who must be doxxed, fired, and left to starve. That isn't exaggeration. These Bolsheviks have starved millions of people to death. They will do it again if we don't stop them peacefully and legally. Do you want to live with facts, or you want to live in feelings? Facts build a smartphone and due process. Feelings built witch hunts and lynch mobs and mud huts. Do you want to live in the jungle and eat spiders? Do you want to be Brazil? No offense, Brazil. Place kind of sucks. Twitter was not made for low IQ people, but 80% of Twitter users are low IQ. They are reactive herd animals who can be manipulated to run in any direction the puppet masters wish, because the puppet masters control the media and academia. People never stop and ask, where's the evidence? Build your case. What is your bias? Who benefits? Follow the money. What is this pusher of narrative? What tribe does he belong to? What would it take to prove the opposite? If someone pushes a narrative, systematic systems of oppression, ask them, for the sake of argument, what if their viewpoint was false? What then? What would it take to disprove their belief? If there is nothing that would counteract it, then they are following a religion, not reality. They have a belief system, not the scientific method. You can't counter beliefs with facts. All you have to say is, your feelings are wrong because my feelings say otherwise, at which point you have an impasse. They can't build a case on a foundation of nonsense, but they will try. SJWs say things that injure your reputation or otherwise cause you harm, and are also untrue statements of fact. They say Jamal is istophobic, he's an abuser of women. When you ask them to prove it, they say that's what people say, but they don't know who. What happens is, say Pedro has a Facebook page where he supports Trump, aka the Orange Cheeto, Hitler, Darth Vader, I'm so mad at the dad I never had. These fatherless children, SJW cat moms, see this, and they immediately claim that Pedro is a Nazi fashionable Chad who must be destroyed. They use an anonymous account on Twitter to start a defamation campaign against Pedro. None of it is based in fact. It doesn't matter. It's just the Marxist mob way of saying that this Pedro is off the plantation. He needs to be punished. So a convention won't allow him, and they call him istophobic. Well, words have meanings, and civilized society has come up with guidelines to punish people who make injurious falsehoods against a person's reputation, because otherwise we live by mob rule, which would use fear and intimidation to control elections. In 2016, if you had a MAGA sign in your Facebook, then you'd be blacklisted from certain industries. That sort of political intimidation isn't what makes a free society. The politics and society would just use fear and violence to push the country into gulags and mass starvation and horrific civil rights abuses. That is slavery, and we are headed there now because we have very intelligent puppet masters who own the media who manipulate low IQ SJWs into emotional-fueled mob violence. Antifa and BLM have caused billions of dollars in damage and deleted and struggle-snuggled people for years. They are mostly meth-addicted junkies, the useful idiots fighting the fascist state police by looting Nike Air Jordans. Because all it takes is a cop to delete a career criminal scumbag, and then it hits Twitter. My ninja Pookie got yeeted. We gon' steal a new flat-screen TV and Jordans tonight. And they do, and they don't get prosecuted. Because the mayors and DAs are actual Bolsheviks in these blue states who are trying to destroy society. Oh, and keep in mind, you need to run for local office. School boards, county councils, everything local. Like, you can't just sit back and think society will run itself. You have to run for these stupid little offices. You have to do your part. It is what it is. You can't just sit back, because otherwise it's like the end of Return of the King in Lord of the Rings. Otherwise these bad elements will sneak in. It's like it takes constant vigilance to run a society. You can't just be a soccer mom. You have to run for these boards. You have to run for these elections. If you're an attorney, you've got to run for these judge positions. You've got to take part. Anyway, and this stuff doesn't get prosecuted because these are, Bolsheviks who run these cities. Keep in mind, Jacob Frey got reelected because the constituents have been brainwashed from birth in a sea of Marxist schools and TV. They believe a man is literally a woman. There's no arguing reason with them. Judicially, they might be found incompetent via mental incapacity. America is up poop creek, and it's raining assholes. At this point, it's better to separate into different greater states for different ideologies, the Greater Idaho Project and all that. I'm sure we can work that out peacefully and without undue fuss. No civil war required, just a peaceful legal separation. I'll get right on that. Yes, unfortunately, you can't just let evil flourish. What does it say? Good men doing nothing is what gets very bad men into positions of power. And, people thought they could, holy shit. I don't know if I can show that on YouTube. They thought they would start a society and just sit back and let it run. It doesn't work that way. You have to take part. All these local county boards, you got to run for them. Jacob Frey got elected because he's a globalist, nut job. But his person running against him was even further whack job left than him. I don't think there was a moderate running against him. And obviously you're not going to run for mayor of a big city. That's not going to be, you don't want to do that your first position unless you've got enough money and enough popular support, like a social media following. You got to start for like councils, like the people who take these positions of councils, like these school boards. You're like, oh, you got kids in the school? No. So who are you? Oh, I'm just a far left attorney. But you want to run the school board? Something doesn't add up here. You want to sit on this council? You're a far left attorney. You just moved here. You don't have kids in the school. You got nothing at stake. Or even worse, they have kids in private school and they want to run a city council, a city school overseeing the cities. That's insane. That's insane. And it just happens because we sit back and we just want society to run itself. It can't. It can't. Otherwise, you get Return of the King. You get these vermin who slither in, and they have to be excised from your civilization, peacefully and legally. So you can go to Arkhaven and you can read some of these comics. Vox, Chuck Dixon, Jon Del Arroz. I don't know who else is doing it. They're good. They're really good. It's I know Vox is controversial for some reason. I heard he was controversial like years ago when he was battling with Ethan Van Sciver, and I subscribed to him and listened to his stuff. I listened to like 3 of his shows. I didn't hear any controversy. He was just talking about cultural and physical anthropology and world religion. I'm not gaslighting. I'm just being honest. Like, he didn't say anything crazy. He wasn't saying. He was just talking about facts. And, obviously his interpretation of them, but it was like, he was talking about anthropological issues and sociology and different cultures. And it's like, that is so triggering to people, to say that different people are different, and it freaks them out. And like, his presentation may not be for you. And honestly, I don't need to hear it because I've heard it before. So I just listened to it for like 3 episodes to know what he was about. And he's not saying anything istophobic. He's saying, he's got facts talking about history and anthropology. It's like, it's not crazy talk, but you hear that different people are different cultures. There's a book called Why Nations Fail. It's a great story about even how different cultures are even just like they did a tribe in Africa. It's separated by a river, and genetically, like, they're separated from each other by like 200 years, but they had different social hierarchies and structures and extractive economies versus a kind of a more free market economy that's still managed. And one tribe flourished and the other tribe didn't, just because of the structure of the leadership. Why Nations Fail. It's a cool story. And there's a bunch of books like that. It's just like, it's dealing with reality and not dealing with feelings. And I kind of think of it as like male versus female energy, but like, I don't want to get into that too much on YouTube. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. And I had to stall to get to 10 minutes. YouTube being what it is. But go to Odysee, go to BitChute, and you can support me on Coffee. 2 people recently have supported me on those things. 2 people donated more than the recommended amount, which is amazing. And obviously I don't deserve it. But I'll see you guys next episode.